Rhynnaw da pawb a chroeso I diwrnod agored cerddoriaeth ar-lein Coleg Brenhinol Cerdd a Drama Cymru 2022. Fy enw I yw Tim Rhys Evans a mae fraint gyda fi fod yn cyfarwyddwr cerddoriaeth yma yn y coleg ac I croesawo chi heddiw. Good afternoon everyone and welcome to this Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama Music Virtual Open Day. As Director of the Music of the College, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you. And I'm also delighted to be joined by our interim Head of Vocal Studies, Mary King, our interim Music Director of the Opera School, and a selection of students from the vocal faculty here at the college. So, whilst I'm Director of Music, it's not me that you really want to hear about. Some of you have already been to the session with me this morning. So I'm going to hand over to Mary first to tell us a little bit about herself. Thank you, Mary.
Well, just in as brief as I can. First of all, I've been here for 3 weeks, so I am very much learning the ways that the college work, and it's all good so far. My background is as a performer, so for 20 plus years I was a performer who did pretty much all sorts of music, recital, oratorio, opera. I spent quite a lot of time specialising in contemporary vocal music, but basically I think music is music and all good music is good music, and I'm not so bothered about the genre as long as it's good music. So I'm very genre open. Since, the last 25 years, I suppose, I've been mixing my performing career with teaching. I ran a course for students at English National Opera called the NAC, which ran for 12 years. And I was an artistic associate at English National Opera. I then went to the South Bank Centre, where I directed a new organisation called Voice Lab, which looked at everything from, emerging artists, casting professional shows, and developing vocal work, everything from Bellowhead to Beethoven, with up to thousands of people in the auditorium and in the free spaces, open spaces around South Bank. And more recently, I've been the Glyndebourne talent consultant at Glyndebourne Festival Opera, where I work with young performers and emerging performers, things like the children who might be needed in an opera, but working on developing skills, particularly for people who get missed out of the normal channels that send people into a professional pathway. So I'm very interested in developing young voices and finding individuality in those young voices and encouraging people to identify their own pathways into music, whether as a career or not as a career, but as a passion.
Brilliant. Thank you, Mary. And I've had the very great pleasure of working with Mary on various projects for quite a few years now. I'm not going to give a number.
No,
so it's absolutely wonderful to be welcoming Mary to the college, as it is James Southall, our interim music director of the Opera School.
Thanks, Tim. And it's I've been here for maybe 1 week longer than Mary, so we're working out how the college works together. But I've also it's been a really positive start to the year, I think, and it's just really exciting to speak to Tim and Mary all the time about the ideas that we're developing and how we can give the most to our students, because that's our raison d'etre at the college. So a little bit about myself. I am a pianist and conductor, and have been at Welsh National Opera for 14 years. So I've just recently moved from there to take up this interim job as the director of music of the Opera School. So I'm principally responsible for the 18 singers on the two over the 2 years of the opera course. And at Welsh National Opera, I was a coach and a repetiteur and a conductor. So I recently did a full tour of Madame Butterfly and done lots of other operas, lots of Mozart, Carmen, Roberto Devera, Donizetti, and some contemporary pieces as well. So I like to work on all aspects of singing and repertoire associated with that. I have a big love of the song repertoire as well, so I'm very happy to always work on that as well. As Mary said, music is music, and just love to get involved and be working on that. So yeah, that's
fantastic. Well, the people who you really want to hear from are the students who I'm delighted to say are with us today. So first of all, I'm going to hand over to Devon McAdam-Sutton to talk about the life of an undergraduate here at the college. Thanks, Devon.
Thank you, Tim. So yes, I am going to be going into my 4th year of undergrad in, just over a week. That's scary. But I guess the typical day of an undergrad might be, it could be very busy. You could have hardly anything going on. But going from what we did last year, you usually started with movement in the morning, which was brilliant because it woke you up. It was something fun to do. We were waltzing. We were doing a bit of cha-cha. I'm not saying we were brilliant, but we were having a great time. You might then you probably won't end up doing a performance platform straight away, but somewhere in your week you will do a performance platform, which is where maybe 5 or 6 of you, depending on the size of the class, will get up and sing to your peers with a repetiteur as well, one of the coaches usually. And there'll be a teacher, whether that's somebody that the college have brought in from outside or an internal teacher, to listen. It's more like a masterclass than anything, which is brilliant, especially when you're working on a piece that you can have input so early on. It's really, really useful. I really like it anyway. You'll probably have a language class as well. So it works in 1st year, you'll just do Italian. 2nd year is German and Italian. 3rd year is French, German and Italian. And 4th year is then similar to 3rd year. So you'll be learning the basics of the language, but mostly you'll be learning how to translate and work your own pieces. So you're not going to be learning, hi, how are you? My name is, I go wherever. Instant conversation things you'll probably learn, but it's more, it's more technical based, so you can use it better. You'll also be having a lesson, like a one-on-one lesson with your teacher and a one-on-one coaching session once a week. Your lesson's about an hour and your coaching is about half an hour, if I'm right. I like to use my 2 sessions very differently. I like to use my coaching as a sort of like a really getting to grips with the piece and figuring it out, and then my lesson as more of a creative side. But it all depends on you and what you like to do with it, and who you're paired up with, I guess. As far as outside of college, there's plenty to do. Cardiff is a massive city with plenty of links, trains, buses, things like that. You could end up being in down at the bay, which is really nice. There's plenty of lovely restaurants and cafes and things like that. I'm not much of a clubber, so I'm not the person to talk to about that. But I do like food, so I will go to a restaurant. If you're interested in like societies and things like that, Royal Welsh, we don't tend to have societies. We've got choirs and things like that, and student-led projects, but you can join in with Cardiff Uni's SU. We have access to their SU and their clubs. You just have to go about it the right way. It's not something that's instantly accessible, but you can do it. And I think more from thinking about what I would have wanted to hear in an open day like this, as good as it is to know what you're going to end up doing in your day, it changes and it does depend on you, because you use your time how you want it. You can be in a practice room for 3 hours. So I think probably the best thing I could give you is some advice. I've got a list, so excuse me while I look down at my phone. First off, take every opportunity that's given to you. If you say yes to one thing, there's going to be so many other things that you get offered. All the doors will open if you just make yourself available and say yes. And in that same vein, say yes to the things that scare you, the things that are out of your comfort zone and make you a bit uncomfy, because you can try it. And if at the end of the project you still don't like it, you never have to touch it again. But at least you've tried, and you've tried to broaden your own horizons. It's good, it's healthy. Also, meet as many people as you can. If you're in halls, that's going to be easy because you get to meet people from different departments. But that also includes your teachers as well. If you're coming into first year, coming straight from school, it's difficult to view your teachers in college differently to how you would have viewed them in school. These are not just people here to teach you, these are industry professionals. And hopefully one day, if that's the route you want to go down, they will end up being your colleagues. So you really need to, how do I say this without making this sound really weird? You've got to use your teachers. They are fountains of knowledge. They have probably asked the same questions as you. And they will know the answers because they've lived through it, or they'll be able to help you figure them out. Use them as best you can, because they'll be able to help you. They're not just teachers, they are there to help you with the experience. And the last thing that I want to say is don't be afraid to ask for help, whether that's academically, vocally, personally, anything. There's plenty of avenues that you can work through with college. If you're coming into first year, you'll be buddied in with a third year, which is always really helpful for if you're not quite sure of your teachers or the staff members that can help you. That's a really nice, comfortable way to be able to work through any issues that you have. But there are lots of avenues that college have to be able to help, and plenty of people who know all the answers to all of your questions. And I think that's me done.
Thank you, Devon. Great advice there. Say yes to the things that scare you. I think you should have that made into a T-shirt.
Would you buy it?
I would absolutely.
Me too.
That's what I've done all my career, and yeah, it's the best way. Diolch, Devon. Great. Okay, now I'd like to hand over to Juliet, who is in a car because she's traveling to Scotland. So we're really, really grateful that you've interrupted your journey to spend some time with us on your way to the Isle of Mull. Okay, Juliet, thanks very much. Over to you.
Hello. So going on from what Devon's just said, I'm also going into fourth year, same year as Devon. And I'm just going to briefly talk about cross-department stuff and what you can get involved in undergraduate wise, from my knowledge. So in first year, your first kind of, not exam, but your first performance, you get to work with a pianist. They might be in first year 2, or they might be in first year postgrad. It all changes because usually there are more singers than pianists in the college. So that's really fun, something to really look forward to, because then you don't feel too kind of nervous in your exam. You know, you're working with someone who's also going to be working, like you're all working together. It's not as nerve-wracking. In second year, you get to do something called the Schumann Triangle, which is where you also get to work with the pianist in that department, and you sing like Brahms or Clara Schumann, and you do lots of projects basically with the piano department because it's so related. I myself also in second year decided to, because not everyone has this, but because I'd done piano previously, I now do lessons at the college from second year. So I was able to, in language classes, kind of play along with people. Or sometimes you could even bring a pianist you've been working with, bring them to the class, you know, work together, see what the teacher thinks, especially if you like doing that kind of thing, like performing in a duo. There are also lots of duet competitions throughout, whether you're undergrad, postgrad, masters. These are all really good. I'd really recommend going to these. I recently just did my first ever one, the John Ireland, and I worked with one of my best friends, and we just did it for fun. Really good experience to get feedback. So I just really advise getting to know other departments because you can really work with them. My friend Clara started working with a guitarist, did a guitar competition within the college in one of the really nice rooms. We came to support her. She won it. You know, it's quite exciting. Really recommending that. As Devon has mentioned, I don't want to repeat lots, but there is the choir and the chamber choir, and you can really get involved in them. If you are a pianist, I'd really say get involved. Sometimes you can play along with the choirs. It's always good to have a bit of keyboard experience anyway. In third year, we just did, just because I saw this as in with the questions, the kind of genre thing, we've just done a musical theatre module, which was really, really cool. You get to work with Tim Richards and probably some other people. We mainly worked with Tim Richards. And you get to do a big performance with your year group, kind of movement, and you all get a solo piece. And it's really fun. And I just say the performance classes and working with people generally, it's just a lot of fun. It's not as nerve-wracking as you would think, because you end up being such good friends with people. And this is the same actually with the coaches. You get to know them. You'll get about, you usually, I think in first year, each term you get a different coach, different pianist, and you really get to know them all. So yeah, as Devon said, just go for it. And lastly, I just thought I'd mention, you are very welcome to start your own kind of projects. So one of the people in my year here, well, there's two of the boys, one is a cellist and one's a violinist, and they set up this orchestra called Ignite, and they use the college. And last year, I think it was, we did like a big Christmas concert with a choir and an orchestra. So basically all the departments can really come together. So I just really advise, when you get there, obviously meet the singers, but you know, make your way around the departments. And yeah, that was just my few points I had.
That's brilliant.
I don't know who I pass on to, but there we go.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Juliet. I'll take over there, but thank you for that, and thanks again for interrupting your journey.
Well,
And
good. Thank you for having me.
Safe journey to Scotland, Juliet. Okay, bye-bye. Okay, now to talk about the postgraduate experience here at the college, can I hand over to Charlotte Pawley, please? Thanks, Charlotte.
Hello, thank you. So for a day in the life in the postgrad, to some extent there are similarities with the undergrad. There are language classes. You will have coaching, one-on-one coaching sessions and one-on-one sessions with your principal study teacher. You'll have drama classes and movement classes. Those are, and performance platforms. Those are the kind of similarities, but obviously when you're at postgrad, you're approaching things with a slightly different lens. So you are doing all three languages every week, and it is effectively a repertoire class. You are taking in repertoire with the view of working on language to practically apply it to pieces that you are aiming to perform. So depending on the size of the class, depending on whether you have something in that language for that week, you can perform almost every week if you want to, if you bring music with you. I say, particularly with the language classes, as a postgrad, view it as another performance opportunity, another way to work on your craft, rather than just always a technical exercise. And with drama, I'm going into my second year. So this year I'm working with the opera directors, whereas last year I was working with Alma only, who is the drama teacher for the vocal students. But we will also get the opportunity to work with the opera directors, which is exciting. The performance platforms are unique in that you have the opportunity to work with your colleagues and your fellow students and give feedback and give ideas and collaborate on your own performance, as well as with whichever tutor is taking the class. So it's an opportunity to hear from your peers as well as from your teachers. Also, you will work on opera scenes as a postgrad. So in our first year, we had our opera scenes partway through the second term. In the second year, you have them right at the start of your second term. And those are always exciting to work on. You get to do a variety of different styles of opera usually. I was working on Mozart and Menotti in my scenes last year, so completely different styles, different periods, and different scene partners as well. And some people were working on Kurt Weill, and some people were working on Baroque opera. So there really is the chance to expand and try new things when you are given your opera scenes. There are also opportunities as a postgrad to be in the gala chorus, which happens at the end of first year. And you also have the opportunity to perform in the opera choruses. So last year I was in the Figaro chorus, and that was fantastic because you're working in what is effectively a professional production, and you get to work with the opera school students. You get to work quite closely as well with the stage management, and also with costume department. So there's cross-departmental contact and work. And again, as Devon mentioned, these people will be your colleagues as if this is what you choose to go into. And so it's always really great when you have the opportunity to take part in something like a fully staged opera, to really investigate what it is that these other departments do, how running an opera works. You're not just kind of standing at the side of the stage, walking on, singing, walking off in a vacuum. There is so much that goes into it, and taking advantage of seeing all of the different elements in an opera is really exciting. And you also have masterclasses as well that happen throughout the year, and you can take part in those. You can be invited to take part of those masterclasses as well. So this year I got to sing in masterclasses with Gwyneth Ann Rand, with Elizabeth Llewellyn, and with Lydia Brown, who is an incredible repetiteur, and taking advantage of hearing from current industry professionals how they work, how they approach their performance, or even sometimes getting insight into how they approach learning music, what they think is important as the fundamentals of your knowledge before you go into performance, is really exciting. And in terms of just your social life, there is the SU in college, and there's always something going on. They have live music Thursdays, there are quizzes, there are karaoke nights. There's usually always something happening, and an opportunity to socialize with people outside of your department or in your department. There are also jobs in college. I usher at college, which I personally really enjoy because I get to see lots of concerts and recitals that I might otherwise not catch. So I got to see a wind quintet as part of the Proms satellite concerts over the summer, and I ushered the World Harp Congress. I would never have in all likelihood I never would have attended the World Harp Congress without being an usher. So that's always a possibility, and obviously funding with postgrad can be a concern. So job opportunities at the college are there, and usually the college is very flexible. And also in Cardiff, you have access to the Millennium Centre, which has WNO and the orchestra, and it's such a fantastic bit of Cardiff that we get access to. We get to see dress rehearsals of things like Madame Butterfly, or new operas like Migrations. I've been able to see dress rehearsals of a whole host of different operas that WNO have been putting on, and that's been a really exciting opportunity throughout the last year, and will continue on into next year. So lots to do and lots to see.
Thanks, Charlotte. That's really lovely. Hearing all these different perspectives is great. Can I just pick up on one thing that Charlotte said there, which is about coming here and working as a professional level? That's how I would encourage all of you to view your student journey, whether that's as an undergraduate or postgraduate, whether that's an opera course, Just see this as the start of your career. Working here, you'll be working with some of the very best in the business, able to operate on that peer-to-peer level as a young professional. That's definitely the way we look to treat all our students here as young emerging professionals. I'm going to hand over to Lucas Maunda now. So Lucas, if you're ready, thanks very much.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to be talking about the different performance opportunities that come with college and also outside of college. Charlotte touched on performance classes and master classes. We're very lucky in that we have a lot of very experienced teachers within college. So every performance class will be with a repetitor, a coach, or with one of the teachers. So it's essentially like having a mini masterclass in college. So you get professional engagement within those performance classes as well. Outside of performance classes and master classes, there are choirs. So as Devon said, we have the chamber choir. That is auditioned, but there are different sizes of chamber choir as it comes and goes. But we also have the college chorus, which I believe Tim is starting to try and implement more of. They did a concert last term. I sadly couldn't see it, but I've heard it was very good. We also have a thing called the REPCO system, where people can apply to REPCO for funding for different projects. I've been involved in a number of them. I was involved in a production of Offenbach's Not Under the Aspidistra, which was a little comic operetta that they applied for funding for. So you can get funding and put together your own performances. Then that ties into another thing, is making your own opportunities for performances is, I think, a very important part of college, and is a very valuable part of college, because that's how it's going to be in the industry. You're going to have opportunities come your way, but that's not always how it's going to be. You're going to have to go and find your own opportunities and create your own opportunities to get more money, to be able to live. So that's another important part of being in college, and it's making opportunities with other students as well within college. As Juliet said, it was the Ignite Symphony Orchestra was put together by people within college, and they've had a good number of very successful concerts in college. So that's mainly what it is in college. There are lots of different opportunities. Of course, you have to go out and find them and make them your own. But there are a lot of opportunities for performance within college. Outside of college, we are very, very lucky in Cardiff to have numerous different opportunities out there. So one of the big ones, and I sing with them, is the BBC Chorus of Wales. A fantastic chorus run by Adrian Partington, who is Director of Music at Gloucester. They have a bursary scheme, which means for every concert you do, you can be paid a little bit of money. That is auditioned, but it's another good opportunity for more performances. Earlier this year, I went to Rennes in France on tour with the chorus, and we were performing Mozart's Requiem with the orchestra, the National de Bretagne. And then just in July, we were performing at the BBC Proms doing Sea Symphony, and it was amazing. So you get these opportunities through the BBC to go on tour, to travel different places, and then we still have concerts in Cardiff as well. We did a Handel's Messiah at Christmas. They have the annual carol concert specifically for the chorus. There's lots of opportunities for the BBC. Then we have the WNO Youth Opera. Currently, they're working on Cherrytown Moscow by Shostakovich. I know Mary's very involved in that, and a good number of students from Royal Welshire as well. I believe the rehearsal schedule has been very intense, but it's, from everything I've heard, it's been a fantastic experience for the people involved. Everything I've heard has been positive. I sadly couldn't do it this year, but it's then just another opportunity for more performance, to perform on the Millennium Centre stage, front and centre with a world-class opera company, working with world-class directors and music directors. So that's more opportunity there for opera specific performance. Another one which I think sometimes gets a little forgotten is church choirs. In Cardiff, we're lucky enough to have a good number of churches with fully functioning choirs. I sing with St Martin's in Roath, and they offer choral scholarships. And there's also Llandaff Cathedral, which offers choral scholarships as well. And it's just more opportunity to get more experience in a different aspect of music, and an aspect of music which I very much enjoy, and I think a lot of people do. Choral music is what brought me into classical music. So it's nice to be able to have these different churches around Cardiff which allow you to continue on with doing different parts of music that people love. And then finally, going back to it, making your own opportunities. There are numerous funding schemes in Wales for music. I've worked with on a couple of productions which were funded through some of these schemes, and it's going out and finding different ways to put yourself out there and make the opportunities for yourself, because nothing's always going to come your way, and finding people you work well with, and finding venues that are welcoming and want to put on recitals, for example. It's never a bad thing to go looking for these things and start to develop your own portfolio outside of different institutions. So yeah, that's kind of the performance side of things.
That's brilliant. It's a lovely appraisal there. Thanks, Lucas. All right, now so turning to the opera school at the college, and first to Joanna Cook.
Hi everyone, I'm Jo and I'm in second year opera school now. So just to talk you through what opera school is and what we do in the 2 years. So the first year we do opera scenes in October, November time, and that's jam-packed with lots of different music. Like Charlotte said, I, for example, did Wagner and then was doing Donizetti, so it's completely different. The sort of stuff they throw at you, which is great because it's the sort of things to explore that you wouldn't normally choose for yourself sometimes. So it's really great in expanding repertoire. And then we have the Opera Gala in December this year. It's normally November, and we get to work with Welsh National Opera Orchestra and Carlo Rizzi. And again, that's a variety of rep, and it's great to work with Carlo because he's huge in the industry, and it's so great to get coachings off him and to work with an orchestra, a full-size orchestra as well. And then spring term, we do spring opera, which is normally around April time, followed by summer opera in July. So full productions, and like Charlotte said as well, it's working with professional directors, the costume department, the lighting, sound people. So it's a fully functioning opera production, and it sort of gives you a taster of what your professional life is going to be like. So it's great. And then second year is same again with Opera Gala, spring and summer opera, but we have sort of exams, if you like. So we have to learn a core role that we get to choose with advice from our coaches and teachers, and you have to learn the entire role from that opera that you choose. And you go into a room with a panel, and they basically pick and choose bits that they want to hear, and you have to be able to sing it off copy, no word for word translation. And then the same sort of week we have an audition package exam where you take, I think it's 5 or 6
opera arias at 5, thanks Tim. And you have to be able to, you choose one and then the panelists choose one for you to sing. But things like this is not, you know, if you don't look at it and it's the scary thing, it's to prepare you for the future. So the purpose of the audition package is that so we have those ready for auditions. And again, core roles you can say, as well as like the spring and summer operas that we do in the 2 years, you have another core role under your belt so that you can say you've done more, and that you know it inside out. So it's great opportunities in terms of the amount you do. It's a lot, it's very intense, but it's so worth it in terms of the amount of rep you come away with and the experience you get. Erin, do you want to add?
Thanks, Joe, and yeah, thanks for the handing over to Erin as well. Brilliant. Erin, yeah, please do come in. Erin Spence, everybody.
Hi everyone, I'm Erin, and same year as Joe, so going into second year, which is very exciting. Trying to think of like things to expand on. Joe's done a really good job of just mapping out everything. Yeah, so we got our repertoire for our scenes in the gala in the first week of college last year. It seemed really daunting at the time, but your coaches and your singing teachers are just amazing at helping you work through it, and you know, asking your coaches to record the piano tracks for you so that you can practice either in college or at home. Yeah, and the gala is just one of the most amazing experiences, getting to sing in the Dora Stoutsquare Hall with the WNO Orchestra and Carlo. It's just a phenomenal experience. We were really lucky last year. We got a good few master classes with visiting industry professionals. Right at the beginning of the year, we had one with Joyce El-Khoury, who was singing Madame Butterfly with WNO, so she came in. And then just before the end of term 1, we had Susan Bullock come in. There's been a couple of, and then also the ones that are held in the Dora, if you're not partaking in them, you can go and watch them and learn from the, I mean, because you can learn so much just from watching, not taking part. And then, yeah, so we did the Marriage of Figaro last year for our spring opera, which was in the Sherman Theatre, which is just up the road. So you got to work, like I think what Charlotte said, you get to work with stage managers, and you just get a glimpse into what it is that you're going to be doing for, hopefully, fingers crossed, for the rest of your life. And then you get to work with an orchestra in a pit, you know, because it's a different experience, and especially contrasting that with having the orchestra behind you for the opera gala, which is semi-staged. It is a different experience, and then you can have that on your CV and have that going forward, and knowing that what the sensations are like, because I know that I've got a fright when the orchestra was behind me because there's an ever so slight delay. So that took a little bit of getting used to. Then later on in the year, you got your summer opera. You get one lesson a week with your singing tutor, and then you're also assigned a coach, so you can organise, and they're really good at being flexible and working around your schedule, because you can get really busy. And then also at the end of the year, there's some competitions that you can choose to enter. You don't have to, but if you want to, then you can. And it's just another opportunity to put yourself out there, create experiences for yourself, and just enjoy what you do and just have fun. So yeah, I think that's pretty much everything.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Erin. I was going to suggest you talk about the competitions, things like the Janet Price competition, which Erin won this year. That runs every year for the first year singers on the opera course. So that's specifically aimed at bel canto repertoire and art song. Also, the main prize at the college is called the Stoutsquare Prize. One of our biggest donors to the college is Ian Stoutsquare, who also started Live Music Now with Yehudi Menuhin, and his mum was from this part of the world, so she was called Dora Stoutsquare, which is why our concert hall gets the name. But every other year, the singers and instrumentalists alternate every other year to win. It's kind of the gold medal of of the college with a £10,000 prize pot. So yeah, lots of great opportunities. Thank you, Erin. Coming to a different side of college life, but still very much in the vocal and opera faculty, is our MA in opera directing. And I'm delighted that Tabs is here now. So I'm going to hand over to Tabs to give a little bit of a flavour of that course.
Oh, thank you, Tim. So the MA Opera Directing is part of the opera school, but it's kind of very different from any other course at college, really. So it's a postgraduate course, and there are only 2 students on it every year. So it's very much a professional development program, really, which is how I've seen it. And so, with the purpose of training people from really all sorts of backgrounds, because opera directors come from a real variety of places. You know, some people come from working in theatre. I myself was a singer I did an academic undergrad, and then did a lot of opera performance, and then moved into directing. And the idea is that this course gives you a chance to develop your skills as a director, both in terms of acting skills and musical knowledge and score reading. But the most important thing about the course is the opportunities for collaboration and developing skills for working with a team of people, because opera is, I think, the most collaborative art form, in that you have so many different artists all working together to put on opera production. You've got the singers, you've got the instrumentalists, the conductor, the designers, the stage managers, the publicists. All of those people make an opera production happen. And so the training you get as a director is how to work with all of these different types of people and coordinate them into creating a unified work of art. And so in the opera directing course, the first term is very much focused on personal skills development. So you get weekly sessions with a group of postgrad singers, not on the opera course, on like the MMUS course, where it's like a workshop space to try out different directing techniques and different acting methodologies that you've learnt about, and just a space to really try things out without the time pressure that comes with a usual rehearsal process. And alongside that, you are able to visit pretty much any department in the college, which was incredible because there are so many different places and different skills that it's important to have an awareness of as a director. And so I worked a lot I went and observed a lot of the singers classes, some of the language classes, actors, designers, arts managers, about fundraising and stuff. And my personal favourite, getting to go into stage combat classes, which was honestly a highlight for me. And then in the second term, you have a whole bunch of different projects, and it's all about collaborating with students across the college. So one of which was I got to work with a composer who was actually on the joint honours composition and singing course, and wrote a short pop-up opera at which had some of the singers in. So like Lucas, for example, was involved in that. And so that's just another performance opportunity for singers as well. These little projects that collaborate with, especially the directors, but other departments as well. And another large part of the course was the assistant directing opportunities. So I assistant directed the spring opera Marriage of Figaro, which was an incredible experience. And I got to work really closely with all of the singers involved in that and everybody else as well. and as well as getting mentored by a professional director, that was invaluable to me, because that's one of the best ways of learning how the industry works, tips for running a rehearsal room, just all of the different things you need to know as a director, is by watching professionals already doing it. And then next spring I will be assisting with the Welsh National Opera on their new production of The Magic Flute, which is sort of the culmination of the course, which is very exciting. And then the other part of the course, sorry, there's so much in this course. It's one of the brilliant things about it. You get to do so many different things at college. Is directing my own stuff. So I directed the second year postgraduate opera scenes. And then the sort of final piece I did at college was directing a one-act opera. This was Lennox Berkeley's A Dinner Engagement. And as part of that, I got to work with, it was some opera school students, some postgraduates, and even a couple of undergrads as well. So it's been an incredible experience to, as people have been saying, these to work with artists at sort of the same level as you, who you may well go on to form professional working relationships with in the future. So yeah, that's the opera directing course. And
thank you, Tabs. That's absolutely brilliant, and yeah, demonstrative there of the power of saying yes to stuff. So yeah, great. Thanks, Tabs. So now we come to your questions. There's a couple that have been popped into the chat, and I'll deal with those first. So Megan's saying, what performing opera opportunities are there for postgrad students who are not on the opera performance course? Hopefully some of those questions, some of that question's been answered already. You will get to do opera scenes in both first year Emma's and second. There are opportunities for audition for chorus, for the main stage operas, for the opera gala, and even some small roles, which when there's a small number of singers on the opera course. If additional roles are required, then we audition for all the singers there. Then John is asking everybody, for the undergrad vocal studies BMAs, aiming to self-tape ABRSM grade 8 standard pieces for vocal. Is this sufficient standard, and how accomplished and polished are you looking for in the auditions? I'm going to throw to Mary to answer this, but the short answer is yes. But Mary, do you want to?
Yes, I think it's very important that you sing what you are comfortable with singing. Don't worry too much about how it's been graded by, the ABRSM or any other person. There are many ways of looking at how you grade the difficulty of a piece of music, any piece of music. And I think it's all about how you sing it, how you communicate it, and how you manage to convey your love of the piece, regardless of whether it's grade 3 or grade 5 or grade 8. We are always looking for potential. It would be no good if we looked at people who were the polished article because they could go and work and they don't need to come to college. We need to try and guess and find a way of testing where somebody's potential lies, knowing that, particularly at undergraduate level, people are at the very beginning of their journeys, and you cannot look in a crystal ball and know where you're going to be in 4 years' time or 5 years' time. It's a long road, and your interests and obsessions might change over the years. People change voice type, they change their area of interest, and sometimes it's because they don't know what they don't know when they come in, and they find stuff out, and that takes them down, new roads and new paths. So I think we're always looking for potential, and we're looking for curiosity and openness in absolutely everybody. So people are open. It's the business of never say no, always say yes, unless you can think of a really good reason not to.
Thanks, Mary. I can see that Yestin's got his hand up. Yestin, do you want to ask a question?
Yeah, I've got one question. What vocal studies do you do in the college that you would recommend to me, since I'm coming from performing arts course in college? what type of vocals courses would you recommend me?
Well, at the college, there's a number of routes you can take. The vocal studies BMAS course, so is for mostly for school leavers, or some people come as more mature students, and that is predominantly a classical in inverted course. But as both Mary and James said at the start, music is music is music. And as Juliet mentioned, in the third year, the singers on the BMAS course do a musical theatre course, a module when you'll be working on that repertoire. We also have a musical theatre department, which sits in the drama department of the college, and that would be purely focused on musical theatre and would be looking at what's known as the triple threat. So your ability as a singer, yes, but also as an actor and as a dancer. So if you're interested more in the musical theatre and you know that's what you want to go for, then that is open to you. But if you are a little bit still undecided, if you want a more classical focus or even a broader focus to your vocal studies, then that would be the BMAS course.
Yeah, it's because of after coming back from France with Run Voice Loud, I come to realization I want to do more classical than doing musical theatre. So I'll have a look at that.
Well, yeah, do please. Thanks, Yestin. Then here we've got there's actually no reference to the graduate diploma audition. I'm also curious about that. Basically, if you're doing a postgraduate audition, you'd be considered for all courses. So that would be the MMAs or the postgrad DIP. So that would be dependent on whether you were ready for master's study. The PG DIP is kind of there for people who might not have done music as an undergrad and want to have a kind of a bridge between conservatoire study and or university and conservatoire. But also it has fewer academic requirements. But what I will say about the academic requirements of the MMAs is that everything is to support you as the development is you as an artist. So it's not that you're going to be doing essays on Schubert symphonies. Everything is going to have a vocal focus, supporting the development of the artist that you want to come. So somebody said, I feel like the extra development undergrad voice pedagogy major, hence why I wish to do grad dip. Absolutely, you can tick that box on your application, and you would be seen in this by the same panel that sees the master's auditions. We did have some questions submitted in advance, so I'm just going to quickly look at those.
I think there's just time for just one or two more questions.
Okay, fine. I shall do that if I can find where's it gone. Oh no, sorry, I'm just looking for the going up for school. Okay, so let's just how do you learn more songs in different languages on your own or with no knowledge of that language? James, do you want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Well, is this prior to coming to college, or is this when you would be at? This when you would be at the RWCMD. Yeah, very good question. I mean, it's a big subject, but at the college you get as we said, sort of the Italian, German, and French, the three main languages that you're likely to sort of work in as an undergrad. So you have people working who are industry professionals teaching that. So it's all about, you know, making it practical, being able to deliver the content of the song that you're working on in as idiomatic a way as possible. So learning the sounds. I mean, Mary will chip in here as well, but about learning the right way to produce those sounds, and that's the most important.
Yeah, I think it's worth saying that what you have to do is be able to analyze how you make the sounds in your first language, and then work out physiologically how you have to adapt the ways you speak in a different language. So that sounds complicated, but really it's not. You know, you put your tongue behind your top teeth and you do this and you do that. you start to find there are ways of getting your ear attuned and your body attuned to what a different language sounds like and feels like. And that's the most important thing for a singer. If you think about it, you're a musician. So you obviously don't believe anybody who says that the musicians and singers and they're two different breeds. We're all the same. We're all musicians and we are developing our ear. So actually that's part of our oral training, is to pick up the sounds of different languages. So actually, I think it's thrilling. Can also open tremendous doors to how your voice sounds, because your voice will sound different in different languages because of these different positions of the muscles of articulation. So it's very exciting. The development is not just linguistic, it's also vocal.
Brilliant, thank you both. I think we run out of time, but what I will say to everybody is if you have any further questions that you don't feel that our students or that we have answered this afternoon, please be in touch. Contact admissions@rwcmd.ac.uk. Have a great rest of the day, everybody, and a great weekend. Lovely to see you. Bye-bye.